Okay, today we're doing Marcellus the Giant, and screen 1 just introduces us to Dan, and screen 2 gives us scale giants. Okay, these are scale. Screen 3, these are giants, but they're not scale. Okay, and then screen 4 says, what do you think makes a giant scale? We're going to answer this later, so you can skip screen 4. Screen 5, building Marcellus. Let's build a scale giant named Marcellus. How many times as tall as Dan should we make Marcellus? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do 3. I would like you to either do 2 or do 4 or do 1/2 or something like that, okay? So try not to use 3. All right, so screen 6, click and drag Marcellus' mouth, eyes, and sword to make him a scale giant. So right now, this guy is 3 times the size of Dan, but the eyes are not. So I'm going to go ahead and try to make them about there. And the mouth looks a little bit big, so I'm going to shrink that down, something like that. And I'm going to make the sword a little bit bigger, something like that, okay? Looks good. Let's make it exact. You made Marcellus 3 times as tall as Dan. If Dan's eyes are 5 centimeters apart, how many centimeters apart should Marcellus's eyes be? Okay, so if his eyes are 5 apart, then his eyes need to be 5 times 3, because that's the scale, or 15 apart. Okay, Marcellus's eyes are scale. Scale giant is called a proportional. Marcellus's eyes are proportional to Dan's because Marcellus is 3 times as tall as Dan, and Marcellus's eyes are also 3 times as far apart as Dan's eyes. Screen 8. Looks good. Let's make it exact. We're talking about the sword now. You made Marcellus 3 times as tall as Dan. Dan's sword is 15 centimeters long. How many centimeters long should Marcellus' sword be? So 3 times 15, which is 45. All right, Marcellus is 3 times as tall as Dan, so now we have that proportional. Okay, let's look at number 9. His mouth is not proportional, so let's see. I made his mouth 4.27 times. Okay, use that scale. That's wrong. So if Dan's mouth is 4 centimeters wide, how many centimeters should Marcellus' mouth be? Well, 4 times 3 is 12. Number 10. All right, so now Marcellus is a proportional giant. Marcellus is proportional because every one of dimensions, sword, eyes, mouth, everything, is the same multiple of Dan's dimensions. All right, and it goes through this. You can also tell that Marcellus is proportional from the graph. All of the points fall along the same line. Okay, Marcellus is 3 times Dan, or y equals 3x. Dan is x, Marcellus is y, so Marcellus is equal to 3 times Dan. Okay, and that is the slope of this line. All right. Okay, so we want to create a giant using the graph. Change the slope of the orange line. All right, so I can change this slope. Let me see. Okay, so each of these lines is 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So if I change this to, let me go up to here, that means that I'm going up 4 and then to the right 2. So that's a slope of 2. Okay, so I'm changing them to twice the size, and then drag the points on the graph to locations that aren't on the orange line. What do you predict your new giant will look like? All right, so if I make my eyes on this side, in other words, less than, then the eyes are going to be closer together. The mouth, let's make the mouth even bigger. And then the sword, let's make the sword real big. Okay, so I'm predicting that the sword and the mouth will be bigger and the eyes will be closer together. And that's what I got here. Okay, that's the giant that I created, and it is what I predicted. All right, okay, 13, we're doing a matchup here. Okay, so let's see. I want to find, okay, this guy right here, he's much bigger, but his eyes and mouth and sword look kind of proportional. So I'm looking for a steeper slope line with the points right on the graph. And that looks like this one right here. Let me take a look. Yep, mouth, eyes, and sword are on the graph. It's a steep line, which means it's a higher slope, much bigger. So I can match that up with that, and then go ahead and close that and get it out of the way. Okay, these two guys look to be pretty close in size, maybe a little bit less, and then the eyes look okay, but the mouth is way bigger and the sword is much smaller. So the mouth will be above the line and the sword point will be below the line. So let's try to find that. A slope of, let's see what this graph looks like here. Okay, so in this one, the mouth is above and the sword is below. Okay, again, the mouth is above the sword. The mouth is much bigger. The sword is much smaller. So this goes with, oops, not that one. It's this one. This one goes with that one. Okay. Now, again, these two look to be about the same size, but what do you think is going to happen to the eyes and the mouth? They're definitely going to be above the line, right? Because look how far apart they are and how big they are. So let me find one. It looks like this one right here. Mouth and eyes and the sword are all bigger. And yes, that's what I have here. So we're going to match that up and close that. And I just have one left. And again, this one's going to be eyes above the line, mouth above the line, and sword also above the line. And that's what we have here. So match those up. And that's that. And then this one, okay, it's the eyes are a little bit above the line, mouth below, and sword should be above also. And that's that one right there. So go ahead and match those up, and you're done with the card sort. And the last screen says, answer the question one more time, please. What do you think? What do you think makes the giant scale? What makes it not scale? So it's scale if all the measurements are the same multiple. Okay. In other words, if you take the same number and multiply it times the original measurement, you get the scale. All right. So do your best on that one. Oh, and we do have one last one. Marcellus is 2 times as tall as Dan. Give Dan and Marcellus the same accessory. Make sure it's proportional from Dan to Marcellus. How do you know that it is? Okay, an accessory. So you know what? Let me just make this nice and easy. Let me just give them like a little thumb here. Okay, so if I take the line tool and I just draw a thumb, or yeah, something like that. Okay, thumbs up. And that's 1, then it's going to be 2 on this guy. So we can go 2. Okay, you can be as elaborate as you want on this. Okay, how do you know it is? I know because this is 2 and this is 1. 1 times 2 equals 2. Okay, so good luck with that. Let me know if you need any help.